How's it going, Madam Kubitschek?
Long time.
Getting started. Our first
bad evaluations. Come on. So let's discuss a difference between feedback and advice. Feedback is by first person. It uses the I statements. It's reactive, it's responsive. It uses action words like saw, felt, heard. It's not an opinion. Advice is an opinion. It can be a positive or a negative opinion. It uses you statements. It's coming from that person's experience. So it's coming from your personal experience. It's not necessarily everybody else's experience, but it's your experience. And it's not necessarily a good or bad experience. It's just your experience. So that's a little bit of a difference between feedback and advice. Why should we not use advice when giving feedback for a speech?
If you have a thought, throw it in the chat.
Desmond's got his hand raised.
Yep. So I was putting in chat, Pebby, I can't see everybody's hands raised because I have a limited gallery view when you're presenting. So I'm asking folks to put everything in the chat if that's cool.
Okay.
So Deanna says because they don't need our advice. They want some criticism. They want some feedback. Then they don't need advice.
Correct. So what makes an effective evaluation? It's, for Toastmasters, it's a 2 to 3 minute long evaluation. It uses I statements. It provides feedback rather than advice. It references the speaker's goals. It highlights their strong points. And it ends with a summary. Now, how would you know what the speaker's goals are? Do you meet the speaker like 5 minutes before the meeting? 5 minutes before they give their speech? Or do you meet them maybe the day before they give their speech? Or should you be talking to them maybe a week before they give their speech? How many people do meet their speaker right before the meeting starts? How many people really do try to meet the speaker the week before and ask them what they're trying to work on? Why should you give feedback instead of advice? Which of these statements is going to be an example of feedback? I had difficulty hearing you. You should improve your eye contact. You use different tones throughout your speech. Which one of those statements is an example of feedback?
Jeff Sawyer says 1 and 3. Ting Ting says just number 1. Jesse, Melissa, a lot of people like 1. A lot of people like 1 and 3, Pebby.
It's actually just 1 because it's an I statement and it was I had. How can we make statements 2 and 3 to be feedback and rather advice? Because again, that's opinions and it's a you statement. Even though 3, it has an action word, is still a used statement. So how can we make, let's take statement 2. How can you make statement 2 to be feedback instead of an opinion or instead of advice?
Elliot has a great way of rephrasing it. He says, I noticed you frequently averted your eyes when speaking.
That's a very good way. Anybody else?
Deepak says, I would like to see more eye contact.
That's another good way. Now let's take statement 3. Who has a good way to turn that into feedback and rather than advice?
I heard different tones in your speech from Sonia.
That's good.
What do you think about, this is just Jean. I noticed that you use vocal variety throughout your speech.
That's a great one. Because we're always talking about vocal variety in Toastmasters, right? Anybody else want to give a shot at any of them?
Desmond throws something in here. We all speak with different tones. And I noticed that your vocal variety was on point.
That's very good, Desmond.
Sandy Watson says, I love the way you changed your tones. Jessie says, I liked how you vary your tone. So a lot of positive stuff coming through.
Yes, that's very good. Now we're going to show a short video, so grab your popcorn, sit back, and I apologize for the quality. Unfortunately, it's Zoom related because of how Zoom plays videos over that. So hopefully this will come through. Let me make sure that it's going to do this. Hopefully it will share. Can y'all hear the sound?
Hello, welcome to my Toastmasters Club, The Think and Speak. We're about to see a portion of Michael's speech telling a story that won't put them to sleep. Michael is sharing his researching and presenting project. He has asked his evaluators to pay close attention to the way he uses his hands. He's identified gestures as one of the areas he most needed to improve in his last speech. Let's watch Michael's speech. After he finishes, we'll examine how his evaluators present their observations.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. How many of you have ever had this happen? You're sharing a story with friends, family, teammates. You're lost in your own narration, thinking about what you're going to say next. When suddenly you notice that people are falling asleep, fidgeting, staring off into space. Your listeners are bored or disinterested, and you're not sure how you lost their attention. Now, there's no need to raise hands, because I'm sure that this is an experience that most of us have had at one point or another. In fact, an experience like this maybe what prompted some of us to join Toastmasters. That's why I want to share with you some time-tested professional techniques that can help all of us become more effective storytellers. Employing these tricks can make you more engaging and give your story flair. Thank you.
Now that Michael has given his speech, he'll hear from his evaluators. As you listen to them share, consider everything you know about effective evaluations and positive feedback. Ask yourself if they're following the guidelines you've learned.
Michael, I really enjoyed listening to your speech. You did a good job and kept everyone engaged. Storytelling is very important, and you gave us some great insight on how to tell stories better. Thank you.
This evaluation was ineffective because the evaluator did not reinforce specific positive behaviors, focus on project competencies, or highlight areas for improvement. Let's listen to another evaluator and see if she is able to give Michael a stronger evaluation.
First off, I want to say that this was a very informative speech. You had good eye contact and fit all the important information in the right time frame. With that said, I definitely see areas where you need to improve. Spend a lot of time behind the podium. Standing behind the podium too much makes you appear as if you're nervous and uncomfortable. You don't want to look uncomfortable, so make sure you move around more. Another thing you did that showed you were nervous was talking too fast. Next time you give a speech, make sure you focus on your speed and pacing so you don't rush through your speech. Thank you again for speaking today.
While this evaluator did highlight some areas for improvement, her evaluation was ineffective. She did not use I statements or phrase her feedback in a positive manner. Additionally, she did not address the topics the speaker requested or include specific examples from the speech. Let's listen to one more evaluator and see how he evaluates Michael's speech.
Thank you for sharing your research with us, Michael. That was a well-delivered speech, and I noticed several areas where you have improved since your last speech. The thing that stood out to me the most during your presentation was the use of hand gestures. Based on our conversation before the meeting, I know that this was an area you were specifically focused on. I could really tell you've been practicing this. I thought it was particularly effective the way you used your hands to emphasize your opening story about listeners who are bored and disengaged. It really helped pull me into the speech. I know our grammarian was keeping count, but I also noticed that the number of ums you used was much less in the speech than in your last. Good work. Since this is a research project, one of the goals is to use credible sources and share it with your audience. I like the way that you did this with your final few tips, but I also noticed that you had no experts credited for your first tip. It would have been helpful for the audience to know where this tip came from or why you weren't able to credit a specific person. I also noticed that you spoke a bit fast. I noticed this specifically during your transitions. This was a time where I was hoping you would slow down a bit to help me go from one thought to the next. I felt a bit rushed. Pacing might be a good area to focus on when preparing for your next speech. I like the way you crafted smooth, clear transitions. This helped me follow the flow of your speech. I thought it was particularly effective the way you summed up your previous tips while transitioning into your final tip. To summarize, I was very impressed by your speech. I saw a great deal of improvement. I also see a potential for continued growth as you focus on things like pacing. Use your strength in providing quality content by sharing all your sources with your audience. And keep up the good work on using hand gestures and a great variety in your vocabulary. I look forward to hearing more excellent speeches from you in the near future.
Evaluators did a great job encouraging and affirming Michael, while also offering helpful insights he can apply to his next speech. Let's review what he did well. As we've just seen, an effective evaluator will provide a full evaluation that is 2 to 3 minutes long. Use I statements that focus on observed behaviors. Give specific examples from the speech to support feedback. Provide positive, encouraging feedback rather than advice. Reference the speaker's goals and the evaluation criteria. Highlight the speaker's strong points, and conclude with a summary that affirms the speaker. That's the end of our evaluations for today. Thank you for visiting the Think and Speak Toastmasters Club and joining us for Michael's speech. I hope this helps you in crafting feedback when it is your turn to be an evaluator.
How did y'all like that video? Who would want one of the first two evaluators as their evaluator? Or even the first one? What did he give? 12 seconds as an evaluation?
Getting a lot of nopes in the chat on that one, Pebby. Hey, Pebby, I don't know if you're still sharing, but all we see is a black screen right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't moved it forward.
Okay. So Marcella says the more detailed, the better.
Yes, more detail, the better. What about the second one? She had more detail, but some of those comments I was saying, ouch. I was thinking, oh. And then she also called the lectern the podium. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to take her aside and say, oh, excuse me, your vocabulary needs to be corrected as well. And she didn't really use very many I statements either. She gave a lot of advice and not really positive feedback. So who would want her to give their evaluation? Not me. We're going to look at the difference between the pathways evaluations and the old style or the legacy evaluations, and more or less how to use the pathways forms. Because even though we've had pathways in our district for 2 years now, we haven't really had to use it unless you've been a new Toastmaster within the past 2 years. In fact, do we have any new Toastmasters here who have joined within the past 2 years?
Yes. Yes, we do. Oh, quite a few. Wow. Vad, Tanya, Elliot, Jamie, Augustine, Emily, Deepak, Elizabeth, Azure. Hi, Azure. Elizabeth, Fabian, Elizabeth Risen, Sonia. Wow, quite a few.
Wow. Good. Now, for our new Toastmasters, when you have evaluated, have you used the manual evaluations for some of the older Toastmasters, or the more seasoned Toastmasters, I should say, that are still working out of the legacy manuals or traditional manuals?
We're getting some yeses on that one. Some
All
folks
right.
that have seen both sides of the program, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Who likes the manual evaluations? And who likes the pathways evaluations
The
better?
traditional program. Let's see here. I'm going to speak for Jean and say I love the pathways evaluations. And we're hearing, we're 50-50 on the votes coming in, Pebby, so.
I'm going to show you how the pathways evaluations are actually better. Now, personally, I didn't think at first they were. But looking at them with a critical eye, I can tell you that they are going to be better. Because just looking at the forms, now, the form on the left over here is a pathways form. You can tell the very first has the member's name, evaluator, the date, and the speech length. Over on the right is also a manual. In fact, this one is, I believe, the Get to the Point out of the Competent Communicator manual. It also has the title, the evaluator, and the date. It also has the note to the evaluator, which also the pathways has the note to the evaluator. Now you also notice on the pathways, it has a purpose statement. The Competent Communicator manual does not have that purpose statement. That purpose statement is actually within the project of that speech. Now, usually the Toastmaster who is giving this speech will hand the entire manual over to the evaluator. So the evaluator can go back and look at the project. But who really takes the time to do that? Not everybody does. Down on the bottom half of that first page, it has 3 blocks. That one has the general comments of, has what you excelled at, what you can improve, and how to challenge yourself. On the bottom half of this form has more or less blocks or questions that you can fill out, but it doesn't really give you guidance exactly how to fill that out. It just, for this one, the Get to the Point, it gives you number levels. And it more or less tells you excellent, 5 is excellent, 4 is above average for the speaker's experience level, satisfactory, could improve, or needs attention. For the number values for the pathways, it really does define it. And we'll get to the definitions here in a moment. But you see here, the speech value, preparation, organization, opening, body, conclusion, and transitions. And then it does give a couple of open-ended questions. But over in the pathways, you see clarity, vocal variety, eye contact, gestures, and this is on every speech. Do you see that on this particular speech? No. You only see what's being focused on for that particular speech. You only see what get to the point is being focused on. So it's only their speech value, their preparation. Doesn't say anything about what their clarity sounds like, what their vocal variety is like, what their eye contact is like, what their gestures are like. It only focuses on what their body or what their speech is like, their conclusion, how is it constructed, how is it organized. It's not looked at holistically. It's only looked at for that particular spoken value. So we've got to take our speeches holistically in order to be able to improve them. Now, I told you I would tell you what the definitions are for the number values within pathways. One is developing. That's, you're starting it to develop it. Maybe your voice is still a little bit on the soft side, and nobody or very few people can understand you, especially the ones who are sitting maybe in the back, because you're speaking so softly, or you're whispering and you don't know really how to project your voice. When somebody is asking you, maybe you need to speak just a little bit louder, or be able to stand and put your shoulders back so you can project your voice a little bit better. And then the next time that you're up there speaking, you start doing that a little bit better. So then it's emerging, because now you're learning. Then you're actually doing it better. And now you see that you've accomplished it, because now the people in the back can really do hear you. Then you start excelling at it. And before you know it, you're exemplary at it, because you're really projecting your voice, and nobody ever has a problem hearing you. You could be up on the stage and you don't even need to use a microphone. But believe me, you want to use a microphone when you're up on the stage, because the microphone's not for you. It really is for the people in the back of the room. Believe me, if you're in a huge auditorium, you need to use a microphone. Please, if a microphone is offered, use the microphone, no matter how good your voice sounds. Within pathways, it's perfectly fine to give a distinguished Toastmaster a 3 for a score. You do not have to give a 5 for every speech. If you feel like it's a good speech, they've done good. If you've heard better speeches, give them a 3. But if it is the best speech that you have ever heard in your life, and it's a jaw-dropping speech, and you're, just in complete awe of that person, and you're thinking, man, they should be the president. I could just sit here and listen to them all day long. Then yes, go ahead and give them that 5. But those 5 should be very few and far between. It's perfectly fine to give a 3 in Toastmasters. On the 3rd page of the Pathways form gives you the definitions of each of the sections for that. So clarity is 5 is an exemplary public speaker who is always understood. Never, ever have a problem. They are never stuttering. They're never fumbling over their words. You know, I'm sorry, for me, you probably could have given me a 2 for this. Maybe 3, but I would accept a 2 for this. Vocal variety, you know, they've always used the tools of the tone, the speech, their volume to perfection. You know, they've always been, you know, they've used those pauses correctly. They've stopped and had that pause just long enough for you to say, and then they go ahead without it waiting too long. They excel. Number 4 is they excel at using it. Maybe they have just a little bit too long of a pause. And then so on. Eye contact is the same thing. You know, maybe they don't use total direct contact, or maybe they focus on too long on one person. You know, comfort level, you know, do they really feel, or do they appear that they're completely at ease in front of somebody or in front of the audience? You know, are they still doing, you know, like nervous tics? You know, do they keep playing with maybe a button, or, you know, doing something with their fingers, or, you know, or just whatever, maybe putting their hands in their pockets or playing with keys or whatever. So all of these things, you know, they tell you essentially how to be able to score that person in that particular category. And it's, like I said, it's perfectly fine to give Toastmasters a 3. Don't feel like you have to give, especially a distinguished Toastmaster, a 5 all the time. Now we're going to go into a little bit about how to do things when you're the evaluator or when you're a coach. Some of the evaluation methods that are out there, we all know about the sandwich method. You give a positive statement, maybe a negative, or, you know, maybe you can say, oh, you need to improve on this, but then you turn right around and you give them another positive statement to kind of, say, hey, you know, you did good on this though, you know, kind of ease that little positive or that little negative statement there. I've kind of heard, you know, sometimes this is not the best way to do that, because you then don't really establish that level of trust, you know, because here you're building them up, then you tear them down, and then you build them back up again. It's like they're saying, okay, why? Then there's the idea method. We're going to discuss this a little bit more. Then there's the 3R method. You review, reward, and respond. You can also look that up on the internet. And then Rakita Hughes had told this about, or taught this in one of the TLIs a couple of years ago. She said you did 3 positive comments, 2 suggestions, 1 exceptional positive, and then you summarized. So they were able to get 3 positive comments, give them 2 suggestions on what they could improve upon, and then follow up with 1 exceptional positive saying, you know, you really did this great. And then you summarize everything. This is the idea method. The I stands for identify. You identify and define the goals or areas for improvement. D stands for to define the strategies to reach the goals. E is to establish a timeline to measure that success. And then A is to always follow up. Yes, you would think F would stand for follow up, but you know, they have to fit it in with the acronym. So we're going to now read a statement or a scenario here, and we're going to identify with the I, the D, and the E, and the A is. Now, I will leave it up to you as to whether you want me to read it, or if you want to read it, and we'll just discuss it. Do you want me to read it, or do we want to just read it silently? Who wants me to read it?
Getting a few hands up.
You read it, Pebby, read it.
Read it. All right. Let me see here. All right. Susie, I noticed that you were averting your eyes from the audience. One technique I have tried is to think of the room as individuals instead of a group and look at each person for a few seconds before moving on to the next person. On your next speech, maybe you could try that technique at the next meeting. Hi, Susie. I noticed during your speech today, you really made an effort to look at me and the other members. Great job. Now, what is the goal?
The goal is positive eye contact.
Right, is the eye contact. What is the suggested strategy?
Think of the room as individuals instead of a group.
Correct. What is the timeline?
Next speech.
When was the follow-up?
The very next meeting.
Ooh. Next meeting.
Next meeting. Great job. Now let's practice on these. So many fillers. John has great content and is a wonderful storyteller. However, he typically has at least 40 filler words, so and but in particular, in every 5 to 7 minute speech. How would you evaluate or coach him in order to be able to help him tone down those filler words?
We're not getting anything in the chat yet, but I'm going to throw the first thing out. I would give John some feedback that sometimes practice helps, and maybe share that it has helped for me. Melissa suggests he record himself. Betty Puckett says advice, not advice, give him the feedback to maybe pause instead of using the filler words. Linda says practice in the mirror, record himself, and listen back.
All right. The next one. Melissa is not afraid to talk off the cuff any time. However, there is never any organization to her message, so it loses its clout. Now, this could either be for table topic or a hip pocket speech. So how would you coach her or evaluate her for her to be able to organize her speech on the fly?
I'm waiting for chat, so I'm going to pipe in again. You'll hear a lot of me tonight. This is great. So I would say, hey, Melissa, I see that I love your conversational style, and I love that you have an interest in many topics. I'd like to see you focus on one topic and maybe work a little bit on a very simple organizational structure, perhaps considering editing your speech down a little bit so you can really focus on your message and make sure it comes across. And I'm seeing lots of chats coming in. So there's Just Jean's example. Let's see here. Jesse says to use bullets on an index card with key points. Kyle says try using notes. Adrian suggests the Oreo method, and we might have to ask him about that. Linda says, repeat the question back out loud before speaking. It helps me organize my thoughts and gives me time to think before I speak. Tom says, practice transitions. And Deanna says, take what the person is saying and add to it.
That's very good. Now this last one. Yeah. Brandon is very intelligent and has great ideas for his technical speeches, but they have no zing and people lose interest quickly. How can you liven up a very dry technical speech?
And while we're waiting for the chats, I'll offer my advice. I've actually coached people exactly on this and suggested that with a very dry, technical, abstract, or data-driven speech, to try to build engagement by tying it back to what's relevant to your audience. Know your audience, right? Maybe tell a story or tell the audience specifically what's in it for them, what the information is going to do for them. All right, here we go. We got a lot of great suggestions coming in. Kyle says, add humor. Jeff says, add humor. Sonia said, real world examples or stories. Tanya says, add storytelling. Ting Ting says, use visual aids. Vlad says, explain in layman's language. Oh my God, we got so many good ideas coming in here. See here. Opinions, reason to support, opinion, examples, and that is Adrian's Oreo method. Opinion, reasons to support, opinion, examples, opinion.
Cool. I was thinking for this dry, you know, how would you tell Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory to dumb down some of his theories a little bit for us normal people?
Heavy, can I?
You had your hand raised, Desmond?
Yes, I did. Okay, so if I were talking to Sheldon, I would probably go, Sheldon, first of all, Bazinga, I know that you enjoy telling us the breadth of knowledge that you have stored within your brain. Not all of us here are on that same level at all times. Why don't you try some member engagement and bring us into the dialogue? That way, you have our attention and you would keep it the entire time because we'd be wondering, who's he going to call on next? Great job overall.
Well, good. Well, thank you, Desmond. Now, we all have obstacles. So let's kind of discuss some of the obstacles maybe for the evaluator and how can we overcome some of these obstacles? Maybe there's not enough time for the evaluator. Maybe because we've had to fill in too many roles, you know, because there's not enough people at our meeting. You know, the flow of the meeting, we have our prepared speeches, then our table topics, and then our evaluations. Well, maybe we've also had to be the table topics master, or we were called upon for table topics. How can we get around from that? You know, or maybe the table topics master was a new one and didn't really understand that you were supposed to call on maybe some people who did not have roles before calling on somebody that did have a role. How can we kind of work around that obstacle? Maybe we didn't know the speaker's objectives because we didn't meet with the speaker. Again, when should we meet with the speaker? Right before the meeting starts? maybe we didn't take enough or specific notes. So again, we gave general and not really good feedback. Maybe we were distracted, or we were talking, or we had to step away, you know, especially in this virtual environment. You know, maybe we had children in the background, or, you know, we got a phone call and we did have to step away during the speech. Or if we were at an in-person, you know, maybe a visitor was next to us and we had to stop and explain some things to them, and we weren't able to listen to the speech. Or this one, we had a past personality conflict with the speaker. That one's a difficult one, because a lot of times when you have personality conflicts with somebody, you may not be as objective as you can be when you are with somebody else. Now let's talk about some of the objectives for the speaker. They're not understanding your feedback or advice. They're not remembering it, or they didn't receive a copy of the evaluation. When should they receive a copy of the evaluation? Immediately. Or they're not open to change. You know, they're saying, well, that evaluator just does not understand what I was trying to do at all. So yeah, no, I'm not going to listen to them. Again, not open to change. Not knowing how to change. Or they had a past personality conflict with the evaluator. Maybe the evaluator didn't even know that they had problems with the speaker. But the speaker is saying, yeah, no, I don't like how they evaluate me. So again, it's up to the speaker and the evaluator to really say, look, you know, I don't think I could really be objective with this person. And can you assign somebody else to me? Some of the resources that are available for the evaluations is, within Pathways, there is a tutorial about evaluations on how to evaluate. It is available for everybody in the tutorials and resources. So you log in, you go into tutorials and resources, and you register for how to evaluate. And the evaluation course will take you through to give you an opportunity to review a section of the Pathways form. It will give you practice evaluating a speech using the actual tools. It will compare your evaluation scores and the comments with the instructor. So it will give you practice to do that. And then there are other resources. Marie Pierre Clark actually talked about this one yesterday in a meeting that I was in with her, was just do a Google search for Jonathan Ping. There's a YouTube, about a 10-minute video, and it's titled How to Give a Great Speech Evaluation in Toastmasters. He was a district champion for evaluation, and he gives his tips on how to give a great speech evaluation, on how he won the district championship. Just do a Google search, how to give good feedback. This was the very first link that came up of, 10 ways to provide quality feedback. There was thousands of ways to, responses that came up. Books, there are a ton of books out there to, of different ways to give feedback. And of course, your mentors. Also, the video that I showed earlier is in one of the paths within Pathways. It's in the Effective Coaching path. That is also a great path if you want to improve on either coaching or evaluating, giving feedback, because that is a coaching path. So you're automatically going to be learning how to coach somebody, how to be able to give them that feedback, how to be able to motivate them, how to get them to change, and be able to work with somebody to get them to change. So giving them feedback, helping support them, and going on. So let's review. Why should you give feedback and not advice when evaluating?
People don't want advice, they want feedback.
Exactly. What are the steps in evaluating someone to improve? They're talking about the IDEA method. What's the I stand for? Identify. The D is define. E
Establish.
establish, and then the A is
Always follow up.
always follow up. And what's different about the Pathways evaluation form?
First thing I'm going to say is it gives you criteria to use, like real good criteria to base on your feedback on. I'm hearing consistent, customized, less specific to the problem, and more like a speech contest, says Jesse, which I kind of agree with him on that.
Personally, I think it's more holistic.
Yeah. Specific to the project, says Sandy. Adrian says it's very clearly defined. Desmond says defines the criteria. Tina says gives specific areas, really hones in on what you should be looking at. Helps you to be a better evaluator. It helps you be a better evaluator.
Yes, it does. And then name a key takeaway from this session.
Ooh, this is a tough one. IDEA. The IDEA structure is a good one. Be supportive and build relationships. Jonathan Peng. Eval forms are more uniform. Use the pathway forms. And 321 feedback, which I like that one too. Use I statements. Give constructive feedback, not opinions. Oh, bazinga. The follow-up helps both the speaker and evaluator. There's accountability for both. And we're hearing feedback again instead of advice, and then 321 again. Oh, and meet with the speaker. Take the time and meet with the speaker a week before. And if you can't, then 4 days before. And if you can't, then 2 days before. And if you can't, then right before the meeting.
Yes, definitely try to meet with the speaker at least before the meeting, possibly the day of the meeting if you can. Not 5 minutes before they get up to speak. That does conclude this. Does anybody have any questions for me?
That's awesome. You've inspired us with all of these takeaways, Pebby. So we'll wait for a minute and see if we get any questions rolling in. Tina says, thank you. Desmond says he'd like a copy of the slides. Kathy, do you know if we're sending these out after? Or Kyle, do you know if we're going to send PDFs out?
We certainly can.
We certainly can.
All right. And so I'm going to give you guys a heads up now. First of all, thank you so much to Pebby Garner for sharing her wisdom on evaluations, effective evaluations, and how to really boost up the quality of evaluations. Really, it's one of my favorite topics, Pebby, and I don't think we can talk about it enough. What I'm going to do is give Kathy a minute or two to maybe set up her PowerPoint. And
unfortunately, I was multitasking because I've heard Pebby's presentation 2 or 3 times now, and I have a lot of work in the trio. I need a bio break really quick.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, if Kathy is like kind of setting herself up, let's all of us, this is a great time to take 1 to 2 minutes if you need to go grab a glass of water or, you know, other things. But please try to come back fairly quickly, and we will move to our second presentation, Supercharge Your Membership Building and Retention Program.
All right, I will try to move quickly, Jean, but you know, I'm kind of like a turtle today.
You get a pass, Desiree.
So yeah, somebody says they'll be gone for 3 minutes. Come back when you can. Maybe we'll get started without you.
Jean, I have a technical issue here. I
Yep.
know it's crazy.
Yep.
I'm trying to move the little panel so I can change this to full screen. My little panel that says mute, stop video, can I just drag it or what? Never mind, I figured it out. That is embarrassing, okay?
No worries, you talked yourself right through that one. So you know how to go full screen. So what if you go full screen though in PowerPoint, you're not going to be able to see your controls. They're going to go away. So you have to
I can see my controls.
Can you?
I have the little arrow at the bottom.
No, I mean your Zoom controls, chat, platform. You know, you're going to trust me with all that.
Yeah, but we're not going to chat. This group was too quiet. I'll be right back in a minute and I'll tell you the rest.
Sounds good. Kyle, how you doing?
Doing great. When everybody's back, I'll make another announcement just for any people that did not pre-register to message me in the chat with their info. But I've got everybody captured so far that's dialed in.
That's great. Nice. Yeah, it's tricky, the follow-up. I did this, when did I do this? Saturday, and there were a few people that just never responded to me.
Well, I've got the current officer list, so if they're not fibbing, you know, then
yeah, we're good.
they're not posing.
All right, Kathy, you're fast.
Hey, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
And Kathy, if you want to pin me as timer so you see me, or if you don't already see me.
That's a great thing. Okay, let me see. I do the 3 little dots, right? How do I pin you? I forgot.
Find him in the gallery.
Yeah, if you find me in the gallery and then hit the
I'm seeing you like in the 1 line.
Oh, in the participant pane?
Here it is. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Are you okay? Hopefully you're still pinned. I'm okay if you say 40 minutes.
Okay. You want 40, 45, and 50?
Yep. 45. Yeah.
We're already starting.
Yeah. You just tell me how many minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So 40, 45, and 50?
Yep.
Okay.
Nice. All right.
Hopefully I'll see you, but I'm also going to scroll through and find people to call on.
That sounds good.
Kyle is used to this method because that's what I did in the district.
Yeah.
All right. No, it's totally fine. I just thought
No, there will still be people that want to chat, and you manage that and let me know. But we're gonna be louder.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. I didn't mean to shut down the interaction.
No. That's just.
It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Let me.
Well, I think it's because we have quite a few new people too.
Yes. Yep.
New Toastmasters.
Woo. Debbie just got a great compliment. Best presentation on doing evaluations I have ever seen. That's always good. All right. Well, Kathy, if you're ready, I'm going to start because I think this intro might take us a minute. So.
Hmm.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm always ready, Jean.
All right, all right. So welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody's back. Let's kind of scroll through. Looks like we got people back already. That's great. So our next speaker is Kathy Moore. So our current program quality director, Kathy Moore, has run a successful small business for 20 years using marketing techniques that work. She has also helped her own corporate club maintain President's Elite Distinguished for the last 3 years and built a coached club back to Distinguished in 3 months. So longevity and sprints. Kathy's got it. Find out how you can use these techniques from Kathy's membership and marketing knowledge base, along with ideas from members of longtime successful clubs. Social media tips included, along with old school one-on-one membership building tips. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, my friend, Kathy Moore, DTM.
Thank you, Madam Zoom Master and Kyle, for having me in this presentation. Of course, I scheduled the presentation, so you really didn't have any choice. But like I mentioned while everybody was on break, we're going to get a little noisier in this presentation. There's not that many people that I think it will get too loud. So I've been training for 40 years. I've taught in school too, kindergarten all the way to college, graduate school, Air Force pilots in an MBA program. That was fun. So I will call on you if you don't speak up. And I want to hear from people that I don't know. Not that my friends can't speak up too, but this presentation, the more you ask questions or tell me what's going on in your club, the more ideas I can give you, because that's what this is about. I called it Supercharge, your membership building and retention program, because number one, it doesn't do you any good to add members if you lose as many as you gain. And there are clubs that actually lose more than they add. So that's one thing we're going to be looking at. But there's also some things that I know from actual practical experience that work better than others. And there are some people on this call who know it too, that I'm counting on to verify what I say. So you won't think I'm just making stuff up as I go. First off, I want you to use your reaction buttons, and I can't see everybody, but Kyle and Jean can scroll through and tell me, is there anybody on this call that does not need to add more members to your club? Did anybody give a thumbs up?
Thankfully, I don't see any thumbs.
Because I was going to kick them out of the call.
There are no raised hands, Kathy. Is that shocking? No, nobody raised their hands.
No. We do a lot of feedback when we do TLIs, and I got so many great responses back from Jean when she did the June TLIs that we know membership building is the #1 thing that people want to know more about. So that's why we're talking about it tonight. And this is my philosophy on the topic. Let me move my little thing up so it's not in the way. To me, the best club membership building and retention programs are a combination of old and new. Now, before I go into that, I'm going to ask you, what membership building programs have been most successful in your club? And I'm going to start with people that I do know and that I do know don't have a problem talking. So Sandy Watson, tell me what has worked in your club. You knew I was going to call on you.
Yes, I did. I think the best way is word of mouth, to actually reach out and talk to somebody personally. Then they can tell by your tone of voice how much you enjoy the program, and they're actually getting to know you.
Thank you. Betty Puckett. We all know the Betty Puckett stories, but I want you to share with these new people here that don't know you, what do you do? And I'm telling you, Betty could be on a magazine for best practices of membership building. I'm looking for your face, Betty. How do you build membership?
Wait a minute.
Did I lose her?
No, I'm here.
Tell me how you add members to your club.
Well, I talk to everybody I see. It just happens. And I tell them about it and how much fun it is and how much they'll learn, what they'll get out of it. And then
Betty, somebody that you cannot.
we make it fun.
Yeah. She's gotten the guy that fixed her door at her house to come to a meeting. She's gotten her doctors to come to a meeting. I've seen her ask the wait staff at restaurants back when we used to be able to go to restaurants. And so what she's talking about is just exactly the same thing that Sandy's talking about. Does anybody else have some other idea of ways that you've been building membership?
Can I pipe up for corporate clubs, Kathy?
Yep.
So in my home club, which is a corporate club, which we can't really, just invite our handyman and the doctor to come. We do the same thing in break rooms in the cafeteria, but we also try to host events where we're offering leadership skills or interview skills in a one-time session. We've done brown bags in the past and use that kind of for publicity, for a reason to come and learn more about Toastmasters. And
that is a great way to do corporate clubs. We've done the same thing. And I see a gentleman, I cannot see your name. Yes, he's raising his hand.
I'm
Unmute
Jeff.
yourself and
Yes.
speak up.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Kathy. We've had success. I work for the city of Austin, and we have a club called iToast, and we've had great success. In fact, part of the reason I joined was through an open house where there was a wonderful guest speaker, there were some refreshments, and it was a great way to feel quickly a part of the group and make some new friends. I know we're a little bit challenged in doing that now, but I think we could still invite guest speakers and make it more of a fun event and invite them to try things out.
Excellent. Okay, so Elwood Smith had his hand up first, and then I'm going to ask you, Mark. So Elwood, what have you got for us?
Well, right now, we're doing the old-fashioned, what do you call it, speechcraft. And not only are we getting some good members out of it, but we're really getting the current members excited. And then the second thing that we've tried, and we haven't had much success yet, but that is anytime someone's going to speak, bring somebody with you to hear your speech.
Thank
you.
So
in other words, if your brother, your sister, your boyfriend, whatever, bring somebody and as a guest. And we emphasize always, invite somebody to the meeting. Don't try to sell Toastmasters.
Thank you.
Because the meeting sells itself.
I'm going to get you on a continuing education call, Elwood. What club are you with?
I'm with Texas Stars in Temple.
Excellent. That was a great answer. How about you, Mark Higdon? Unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah, there I am. Well, we usually use, open houses.
Uh-huh.
But the thing about it is that we try to keep the names who come, the visitors who come, and so maybe right then they won't join, but a year later they might. And we have plus former members who have, for whatever reason, have dropped out. We keep in contact with them so that when they have time or want to tone up on their speaking skills, they'll rejoin. And that's what happened at this time in June. We added 6-7 members, of which at least 2 were former members, and actually 3 were former members, and several were people who had visited us over the years, and we just kept in contact with them, and they finally said, okay, I'll join up.
So hear what he said. They had 6 or 7 people join in June. How many of you have heard other Toastmasters say, well, we're just waiting till we can meet in person again, till we can add new members? I'm sorry, that is a crock. Because if you invite them to the meeting and your meetings are fun, they will join. It doesn't matter if it's online or live. And Jean is just like me, part of a corporate club. All of our meetings are online anyway. So it's teaching people how to be more effective in online meetings. I would like to hear from one other person who has increased their membership since COVID. Linda Rodriguez, has your club done that? No? Okay. Well, we're going to teach you how tonight.
We did increase our membership. One of the ways that I did that was any of our guests who joined, I tried to reach out to them if they provided their contact information during the club, and I just asked for 15 minutes of their time to have a phone call. I told them how much Toastmasters has helped me, and I feel like, especially when I'm speaking with people who speak more than one language, since that's something I struggled with in the past, and I explained Toastmasters has helped so much with my confidence in speaking in general, and building a connection from there. But we've had one new member.
Excellent. So what would you say the technique was that she used to add members? It's testimonial. And that is something that you need to include in your membership drive. And we'll look in a little bit about where exactly you want to put those testimonials. Jean, is there anything that needs to be mentioned from chat before we move to the next question?
Absolutely, especially addressing COVID.
Well, Kathy, wait.
Sandy Watson mentioned that right now is the best time to reach back out to members that had issues with your meeting location.
Right.
Geography isn't a consideration right now.
Exactly. So go ahead, Betty.
I'll write it. I was just saying, when we have guests, we ask them if they would stay a few minutes, and a few hours stay and talk to them about Toastmasters and all the information that they want, that they can ask us questions.
Answer their questions. It doesn't have to be a hardcore sales approach. In fact, it's better if it's not, but just answering their questions, because they're going to have questions. I want about 3 people, because we got to move on. We got a lot of stuff in this presentation. Tell me what your membership growth goal is for this year. Who can tell me how many members you want to add this year? How about you, Christine Moore? I know you're part of the PR team.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, we want to have as many as possible.
Number?
We haven't discussed an exact number yet for our club.
So that's important.
Yeah, it is.
You tell them that I said that.
Okay.
Who has a number that they know they want to achieve this year? How about you, Jessie Vega?
Jessie says 10 in the chat.
Oh, good. Excellent.
And Marcella from San Antonio Public Library wants to add 5, but also retain all her current members.
Yeah, I think you guys are needing a few members, so that's a good goal. Well, we'll get back to membership numbers, but let's go on, because I got lots of stuff to talk about. So we've already talked about the fact, and there's her face. The number one way to gain new members, and Sandy and Betty have already verified that I'm not lying to you, is personal invitation. And underneath Betty's picture, some of you will know that gentleman. His name is Bart Lozier. I included him on this presentation because Bart decided that one of his clubs, the Austin Pride Club, needed to be distinguished again. Some of the officers were actually talking about shutting the club down, and Bart was not, if you know Bart was not having any of that. So he got on the phone. He told me he made about 40 or 45 phone calls in 7 hours. At the end of that time, he had added 9 members, and they were distinguished in one day. That is another example of why the best way to add membership is personal invitation. So you already heard some of this from Sandy and from Betty. Know the person you're inviting and what their goals are. You got to tell people what's in it for me. Then know the specific Toastmaster benefits that would appeal to that prospect. If it's somebody in a corporate club, at Medtronic, one of the things we push is the fact that our club is a safe place to practice your presentations, because everybody has to do online meetings. And the other thing is a fun way to blow off stress, because our business is very intense. So know your club, know what their advantages are, but know the members and what they're looking for. Be able to clearly explain those benefits. You heard someone tell us a little while ago about sharing their story, and that is magical. I will tell you that I have used this story. It's not my own story, because I've never been afraid to speak in public, in case you couldn't tell. But we had a member at Medtronic, and some of you have heard this story many times. It's kind of hard for me to tell it without getting choked up to this day, and I've probably told it 8 or 9 times. We had a member named Kim who was so shy when she first joined us that she would look down when she talked to you, and she was very quiet. And we just kept telling her what a great job she was doing, because she was, and she gradually worked on it, table topics, evaluating, telling her own stories. Then finally one day, and she just kept getting better and better. One day she came in and she blew us all away. She told a story about childhood sexual abuse, and she was the victim. There was not a dry eye in the room when she finished. And what I did, I think I was her evaluator that day, or were a couple of us that were very seasoned Toastmasters who each gave her ideas. I told her she needed to do a 3-part series and come back and tell us more. She ended up becoming an advocate and helping other people. And that is the amazing thing about Toastmasters. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but find those stories, either your own stories or somebody in your club or somebody you know, and use those to inspire people. But you, like someone mentioned earlier, just invite them to the meeting. You don't have to do a sales pitch ahead of time. Invite them to the meeting and let them see for themselves. That is the best way to do it. Then we're looking at renewable leadership and building on itself. So teach somebody else to do what you know how to do, so you can have a multiplier effect. Now, we already had somebody mention, and you saw they got a standing ovation from me. The second way to gain new members, second best way in my opinion, is Speechcraft. And I will tell you something extra about Speechcraft that I don't remember who it was that reminded me recently. I think it was in one of the leadership trainings. This year, you can get credit on your DTM, a Pathways DTM, for holding a Speechcraft. I have a Speechcraft chair that works for me. Her name is Hetty Alsop. She's also an area director, but she has done dozens of Speechcrafts. We taught a class last year. We're going to teach it again this year, and it's coming up on the continuing education calendar. So one of the things that was mentioned by one of the attendees tonight, you're going to convert more prospects if you do a speechcraft. Last one I heard about was Ryan O'Connor before he moved down here to San Antonio from Austin. He had one, and these are his people, his speechcraft. They had 5 members in the class that joined the speechcraft. Every single one of them joined the club. How often do you have every single person at an open house join your club? So there's a good reason to do it. It's also nice, and it works really well. We're still trying to do one at Medtronic, which is a corporate club. We just haven't, everybody's busy. We haven't been able to schedule it yet, but we're trying to do one for supervisors and managers that say they don't have time to join Toastmasters because, you know, once they get in, they get hooked. So that's the way that we're trying to approach adding more supervisory level people. Right now we have 1, and she joined because my old boss, her manager, told her, you need to improve your speaking skills. You need to go to Toastmasters. And she did, and she has gotten promotions, all kinds of stuff. And that's what happens in corporate clubs. So keep on the lookout. If you don't know about Speechcraft, you can learn it when we have that continuing education class. We'll have lots of resources available. Here's another opportunity, and some of you are already doing this. You can still do an open house online. You just have to look at ways to be creative. What we decided to do at Medtronic, and it's coming up on August the 12th, we're only open to our own employees, but throughout the world, any Medtronic employee can join any Toastmaster club. We're going to do a movie night. So it's mostly going to be table topics, movie questions, but there will be 1 or 2 speeches. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's a big draw, like I said, in corporate America, because we have a lot of work. Anybody got any questions? Is there anything in the chat that we need to go over before I go on to the next thing, Jean?
Adrian was asking if anyone's doing speechcrafts in COVID-19 times, and I responded, yes. Elwood was
absolutely. There's no reason why you can't.
And Texas Stars is right in the middle doing one now, and it's going great. Right, Elwood?
Elwood, we really want you to be on that call with us when we do it so you can tell us your results, and I'll make sure you get the information about when it's going to happen. I think it's a class on speechcraft, and I think
one other quick comment.
Go ahead.
We found, I don't know, accidentally, a man, I think he's in South Carolina or somewhere, that, I mean, is the most successful speechcraft person that I've ever heard of. And we were able to get him to do a Zoom meeting with our leadership before we started. And he gave us some fantastic instructions of how to do it. And it's working good. So I don't have his name right now, but I would sure urge you to talk to him.
For us, right?
He was good.
Excellent. And that's what it's all about, finding great resources and sharing them with everybody else. That's excellent. Okay, let me see. I can't see my little arrow, so let me see if I can. There we go. Okay, here's another opportunity that is similar to Speechcraft and has a unique opportunity right now, since we're meeting online, is to try a speaker series or a special event. Now, this one is courtesy of Riverbend Toastmasters in Austin. My good friend Margaret Cathy, past district governor, she actually has a 4-week program, but they're probably not doing one online this summer. They like doing the live ones where they have snacks for people and they do it that way. But there's no reason why you cannot do them online, and you can invite speakers from all over the world. It doesn't have to be just our district. If you know somebody in South Carolina that's fantastic at Speechcraft, great. Another opportunity is topics that are important for your target market. And I'm going to give you an example. Ellen Lowe was an area director last year, and she struggled trying to get a club she was coaching up to membership level. We spent about 2 hours on the phone talking about everything she had tried. And finally I said, you know, find a topic and do a speaker series that is important to your group. And it was after COVID had already hit. So, and she's in HR. I said, what about an HR topic? She ended up doing a table topics marathon, and the questions were interview questions. So it was a table topic. You didn't know what the question was going to be, and it was to practice your interviewing skills. They blew it out and they got distinguished. They added, I think it was 5 or 6 members, and everything was great. So you gotta kind of think about what's important to your group and how you can design a meeting that meets those needs. And we just got through talking about online. Does anybody have any specific ideas, things they want to try, they've heard about, or they've already done it in the online arena that you think will be very successful? Unmute yourself and speak if you got an idea. David Batchelor, you look like you're getting ready to talk.
It proves you're not in my club.
Yeah, I'm looking for raised hands too.
Okay.
Yeah, and hey, Kathy, you know, we have a famous Toastmaster, Rich Hopkins, right, who I think probably broke some kind of record going around the world and speaking in every single district in the world. So it is, you know, there's no limit to getting people from all around the world to speak, and I think that's a good way to draw in guests.
Yep, that's excellent. Do any of you know Lisa? What's Lisa's last name? Trego? Am I saying it right, Jean? Troggett. How many of you are parts of community clubs where you have maybe moms with kids? I interviewed Lisa the other day because she's going to be one of our continuing education trainers, and she would make a fabulous guest speaker, and she loves to do it. So I'm volunteering her for your club. She told me that one year she decided that she wanted to homeschool. So she did, but what she did was she took her kids on a trip around the world to teach them about the world. How amazing is that? Now that to me would make a fascinating topic for a meeting, for a workshop. So
she's also a pro speaker. She was a finalist in the District 55 International Speech Contest this past year.
She's written 3 books. So we have all kinds of people like that in this district. All you got to do is find them. And normally they love to talk. If you meet them, if you can find them, they love to talk. Here's another. Now, remember I said that the best programs were a combination of new and old. So here's a new technique. And I joined this club in Corpus Christi. Number 1, because my good friend Michelle Ribol needed 1 more member to become a distinguished division director. And she was my mentee, so I wasn't gonna let her miss by 1 member. Plus, I'm working on mentoring this group in Corpus. And the other thing is I knew they were really good at technology and I wanted to learn from them. So recently we did a live streamed meeting, and we're actually going to have a continuing education class on that, but it's being taught by one of our young techno people from the Rio Grande Valley, Brian Martinez. So we've got all kinds of ideas to help you but a lot of it is old school. It's the stuff that's tried and true, that's worked over and over. But the nice thing about live streaming, I went on Facebook 11 minutes after we had done this little meeting. They interviewed me, and it was fun and it was simple. And there were already like 15 or 20 people that had viewed that within 11 minutes. So that's a kind of quick response you can get, the quick opportunities to grow your membership. And notice here at the bottom, I say, post your content wherever you can, but especially on the TMD 55 page, not the group. Can anybody tell me why?
Because the page is public.
Correct. If you want to get prospects, don't post it on the TMD 55 group. That's for existing Toastmasters. Yes, it's fine for those that want to be in 5 or 6 or 7 clubs, but that doesn't help us grow membership. And hardly anybody is posting on the Facebook page. So it's a wide open audience out there. Just target your stuff to who you're trying to attract. Right now, they can be from anywhere in the world. Any questions about that? Because I still have a lot of stuff to cover. Cool. Oh, let me see. Next topic. Now, oops, let me back up. Next topic is websites. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I've had a small business besides working for a gigantic corporation since 2011. I have been in business for myself for 20 years, and most of my close friends know as a hypnotist, I do smoking cessation and working with people with anxiety and stuff like that. So I've had a website before most people even knew what a website was. And here are some simple rules for your Toastmasters website. Make sure that the content is warm, welcoming, and current. Don't have stuff from 3 years ago on your homepage. And trust me, I see it all the time. This is the pièce de résistance, since I didn't get to go to France this year. My favorite website in the district, this is the Central Austin Toastmasters. Go visit their website. It is amazing. It's very well organized. The language is great. Everything's current. It's easy to find stuff. The other thing, that's a picture of me and my sidekick, Darla. Make sure you have fun photos that entice people to want to join. Don't have just all the pictures being 6 people standing in a row smiling. I mean, that doesn't really tell us what happens. Of course, right now we're just looking at grids of online meetings, but you can do things like Crazy Hat Day or cocktail party. River Bend did a virtual cocktail party. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. And this is a shout out to my buddy Pebby. Use your member profile section. Make sure you put in there about yourself, your social media contacts, and what you love about Toastmasters. Tell your personal story. Each member should have how long they've been a member, what else they do, what their social media links are so people can find them individually, but especially why they join Toastmasters or why they stay or why they love it. Does that make sense? You also want a section on your club and member achievements. Think about it. If you're part of a club that's been President's Elite Distinguished for 15 years, that's something to shout about. That tells a prospective member that you have a quality club. You might be in a smaller club, but you have 10 out of 12 members, you got 10 DTMs. That also says you have a quality club because you have people that have been around a long time. Find what's unique about your club and incorporate it into your messaging and your promotions. Do I need to take a break for any chats?
No. You know,
Jean.
somebody.
I had a senior moment. I was thinking about Penny. Go ahead.
So just call me girl.
Yeah, girl.
So
Super girl.
Jesse asked a good question. He asked if there's any clubs out there streaming on YouTube instead of Facebook, like doing live streams to YouTube instead of Facebook. And I don't offhand know of any in our district, but I just Googled Toastmaster YouTube live stream, and there's tons of other districts.
That's the best way to find your answers to your questions about Toastmasters.
Yeah. But I just don't know if there's anybody in District 55 that can share that experience.
I can say I'm very tempted to start streaming ostentatious meetings out on Facebook and YouTube, because we do have a Facebook presence. And if you have a Gmail account, you actually have a YouTube account. I'm very tempted to stream us out to YouTube as well.
Just make sure your members are okay with it, okay, Desmond?
Well, that's actually what I was going to say. You have to have buy-in from the membership as well, so that they can attend and be cool with being out there.
And there's ways to work around that. If you've got some members that don't want to do it, then say, okay, but a lot of them do, say, okay, this week of the month, we're gonna live stream, and this week we're not. So, you know, you can find different ways to arrange it. Okay. This is a page, and I gotta move this out of the way so you can see, from Central Austin Toastmasters website. Make sure it's easy for your prospects to find you and to attend your meeting. So this is where they're telling people exactly how to sign up. That's what you want to have in your website. Make it easy for people to find you. And notice the language. It's not, you know, overly stuffy. It's just casual and easy to read. The type is easy to read. So here's an example from Sandy's club, and from a club that was award-winning on Free Toast Host. They used to publish their websites of excellence, and there's nothing wrong with the Facebook page. The pictures are great. The difference, if you want to go from good to excellent, look at the difference in the copy. In the Downtown Professionals, the copy is positive, but it's kind of general. When you look at this one from Point Magoo, which is obviously not in our district, they're in California, they tell you specifically what happened, but they do it in a fun way. When you read that information, you think, wow, that would be a fun club to attend. And that's what you want to have in your own copy. But this one in Downtown Professionals points out something that I always try to share with people. You can use Facebook as a website, but please do not use Easy Speak. You can use Easy Speak to track your membership and track their progress, but it is not a website. It doesn't work well as a website. If you're a IT guru and you know how to link Easy Speak to something like Weebly that's simple and easy and fun to look at, that's great. But remember, somebody has to be able to do that after you're not in that job anymore. So those are just some other tips about websites. Like I said, I've been hosting one myself, and it's on WordPress.com for a long time. And WordPress does have a nice Toastmasters website template. We got a new VPPR this year. I am so excited because I built our little website, I don't know, 5 years ago, and never touched it after that because I don't have time. But I got a PR guy this year, and he's updating it, putting all the upgrades in. That's really exciting to me because I don't have to do it. Okay. Now we're really getting into the new zone. This is social media in a nutshell. And hopefully you know what each one of these sections is about. Up at the top left corner, from my point of view, I guess it's the same for you guys, is the Facebook. Now, realize there's one thing that we identified right away this year as a trio. The Facebook page and the Facebook group look exactly the same. So no wonder people are confused. So we're working, I don't know if they've done anything yet, but we are working on changing that so you can tell the difference. The only way you can tell is the page has this little thing at the top that says contact us, because it is open to the public. The group is just for Toastmasters. Now they can be Toastmasters in Ireland, but it's not open to prospective Toastmasters. And I have to turn people away all the time that want to join our group because they want to learn about Toastmasters. And if I have time, I'll ping them back and say, we have a page, but there's not much going on the page. So start posting stuff on the Facebook page and you'll get some new members. Next to that is our YouTube account. I guess it was about 3 years ago. Betty was involved. Stephanie King was our VP, our PRM. We did a series of 6 trainings about PR, and some of those are still available on the YouTube channel to look at. Now, I've been telling the current PRM that we need to update those, so hopefully we'll have some new videos soon. In the middle, there's our District 55 banner for our website. If you look to the far right, you'll see the F for Facebook. Any of those links will take you to the district site. So the second one is YouTube. The third one, the little envelope, you can email the webmaster, Vishal, if you need to talk to the webmaster. The next one is LinkedIn. We do have a district LinkedIn page. And the last one is our Twitter. And I have a Twitter account for my own business. I haven't been on our district Twitter, but we have one. So then this one that says interview success, that's Instagram. The TI, Toastmaster International, has Instagram. We don't currently have one in the district. I don't know if they're working on one or not. I think they might be. And then this up at the top is the LinkedIn page for our district. Here at the bottom is nextdoor.com. It is free. I put this picture in. This is actually club coaches, and they're not all from San Antonio, but I needed an online picture, and that's what I had. I actually created a nextdoor.com group called San Antonio Toastmasters. But the tricky thing about Nextdoor, you can only join in your neighborhood, in your zip code, but then you can expand out from there. So check out Nextdoor because it's free. And as a small business person, I can tell you it works. And I've seen lots of people check out the San Antonio Toastmasters page. Oops, I clicked on the wrong thing.
And Kathy, if you didn't see my green, you're at 41 minutes now.
Excellent. And I'm trying to talk fast. So one of the things I wanted to make sure everybody understood is that club quality is a team effort. It takes everybody getting excited and everybody getting involved, but it starts with you. So you can spread the excitement. Everybody on this page is really good at talking Toastmasters and building up excitement. So that's something to keep in mind. Whatever you can do to motivate your membership, that's going to help you grow your membership base because people want to be part of a success. Everybody wants to be associated with a winning team. Okay, why is this not moving? So I'm going to talk a little bit faster in this section. We're going through the district resources. I have mentioned several of them already. We've talked a lot about continuing education, and that is being kicked off tomorrow night. I get to talk again. We have an excellent public relations team. One of them is on the call with us. That's Christine Moore. We're not all named Moore at the district level, but it helps. And we also have an excellent district website and webmaster. So our PR team is led by our PR manager, Rick Collins, and the news magazine director is Harlan Blumenthal. They're both great guys and really serious about wanting to spread your news. If you want to shout out anything about your club, anything exciting that's happened, you can email Harlan and he will get it in the newsletter. They're looking for stories about individual clubs and their successes. So let them know what's going on. They're happy to hear from you. And this is where you send it, newsletter@tmd55.org. They are looking for stringers to help write stories about different areas. They do have a few people in San Antonio, but they need more. They want them all over, including down in the Rio Grande Valley, up in Temple. We got somebody from Temple that needs to tell them about Speechcrafts. And then we still have some clubs in Del Rio and Corpus Christi. So if you're from one of these areas, then please let them know if you're willing to help, if you like to write. Here's a few resources from the district, from TI, Toastmasters International, that are good for membership. Again, I bet if you Google online Speechcraft information, you'll find somebody that's already posted it from magazine to online, because we should be able to do that. I would say you still need to purchase from Toastmasters because it is their copyrighted material, but you have to be able to share it with your attendees online. I think they have already switched some of their things to where you can download it from online. And I'm hoping they're going to do that with Speechcraft. I don't know if they have yet. Maybe one of you have already checked into it. Then keep in mind, this is important about membership. Make sure that your club contact and meeting information is up to date. You want the contact phone number, the email address, the website information, and then if you have Facebook, you want to include that in there as well. That is very important. And this is how you get there from Leadership Central to Club Central. How much time do we have left, Kyle?
Yeah, 5 minutes left. It's 8:49 now.
So somebody tell me something that you got from this presentation that you are going to use immediately. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, and he always says when you get ideas, you need to use them now so they make a difference. Somebody tell me something that you're going to take from this presentation and incorporate it immediately to help grow your club.
Hey, Kathy, I heard you talking about your Tuesday night continuing education sessions. Are you going to have those posted on tmd55.org for people to register for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great.
We're running behind getting it. We had technical difficulties, but Vishal has all the information now, and should be posting it within the next day or so. I'll tell him that it was mentioned on this class tonight, because
yes.
So much stuff. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we're doing how and why to fill out the club success plan. And I'm a planner. People that know me know this. If you plan your success, you're going to be more likely to be successful. So it doesn't mean you can't do things on the fly. I can tell you, Gene Ramsey was extremely successful getting us into online mode at the drop of a hat. March happened and COVID happened, and we had to shift gears immediately. And our district did a great job of it because of her and because of the other excellent resources we've had. But if you plan for your success, that's why I was asking you about what numbers you wanted to hit. I'm from a sales background. Get your number and hit your number and you'll be good. What else does anybody want to use from this meeting?
The takeaways are rolling in. Speechcraft.
Yes, because you can get your DTM.
Yes, personal invitations.
Yes.
live stream to Facebook, start posting on the outside District 55, like people facing page, members testimonials, speechcraft, getting clear on how many new members we want this year.
So it sounds like I did a good job of getting the points across.
You did. Fun photos, Facebook streaming, special table topics marathon. Everything you said, people are like, somebody's taking nuggets back from everything you said. Great job.
So I want to share something before we close. And if anybody wants to stay afterward, we're done in an hour, but I'm always happy to talk Toastmasters. I want to share something that was in the opening district leaders training. Jean knows when you're in the trio, you go through a lot more training than we do at the club level. We have had a whole weekend of training this past weekend. We have a whole weekend of training next weekend. But the opening session, one of the speakers was our international president, Deepak Menon, and he spoke about a club at a college. And you know, those are hard to keep going. But this was a college club, and it was an engineering school. And these officers all got together and decided they were going to make their club, it's only a 3-year-old club, the best Toastmasters club out there. So they did amazing programming. They brought in speakers from other parts of the world. They did all kinds of interesting topics and workshops. It doesn't have to be 3 speakers and 3 evaluators. We frequently don't do it that way at Medtronic. You can do a table topics marathon. Just make your meetings fun and interesting. And that little club that he visited, they had 16 DCP points. Now I know you're going, what? Wait a minute, you can only get 10. They got all the legacy program points, and they got all 6 of the pathways points. So even though they couldn't get credit, they could say we earned 16 points, and that got the international president to come and visit their club. So that's something that I wanted to leave you with as an idea. Think big. The people that have been on my marketing team know my motto is go big or go home. Just dream wildly. Brainstorm with other people in your club. If you could do anything, if time was no obstacle, what would you do in your club meetings? And then make it happen. Look at what's possible in Speechcraft. This club, Elwood's Club, found somebody that was an expert, and that is a great thing to do. If you want to find an expert in contests, an expert in Toastmaster contests, just Google it. Check out the other district websites, and you'll find all kinds of information. And we're going to be having some of those district leaders visiting and our continuing education program, because it's gotten a reputation, even though it's just really getting up and running, the new program. So you're going to be able to meet a lot of people from other states. We have one on the call tonight from New York City. So I'm sure he's got a lot of ideas of things that we don't necessarily do here in Texas. So share ideas with each other. Ask me if you got questions. My marketing team also knows if I don't know how to do it, I know somebody who does, because I'm a networker and I ask a lot of questions. I'm sure I'm out of time. Is there anything else that anybody needs before we close?
No questions? Nobody?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
We're for my club, we're using my Zoom, my Zoom account, and we don't have a chat feature. Is there something that maybe Toastmasters is providing that we could use so we can?
So you're doing a free account, right?
No, it's through my company, but we just don't all have the chat feature.
You
Yeah,
might be able to, hang on, Desmond, you might be able to enable it in settings, Linda. Look at your account settings. When you go to zoom.us, look at your account settings. It might be that your company doesn't allow you to, but you might be able to turn it on and off for some meetings.
Okay. Very helpful.
There's another cool feature that we're going to be teaching in continuing ed, the annotation feature. I was telling Jean about it. We've been using it at the district training and it is so much fun. So we're going to be doing that too. Okay, guys. Well, I want to thank you for your attention and for your great answers. Man, we got 72 things in chat. I'll have to be sure to save them so I can read them. And please feel free to reach out to me. I sit in front of a computer and answer emails all day long, so I'm happy to answer your questions relatively quickly. I always want to hear your ideas. I always want to know what you got going on, how you can help somebody else and how they can help you. Adrian, how are you?
Doing good, Kathy. Just want to, for clarification purposes, when Pebby was doing her session, I mentioned about the Oreo principle, or the Oreo method. This was actually by Tammy Miller. She was one of our speakers or one of our presenters during our conferences several years ago. And then she's actually the one that gets the credit for it, not me.
Thank you.
No, Tammy Miller is great. Yeah.
Maybe we can get her to come and do a continuing education class. If you guys want to hear about something, so that's one of the things we're talking about tomorrow night. I'm going to share the stuff that's going to be coming. We already have like 3 months worth of programming, but we want to hear from you what you want to learn. So if you got time and you can come to that class, we'd love to have you. Anybody else? Are we out of time?
What's the Oreo program? I missed it. Adrian, I missed it.
Book, Betty.
We're out of time. We're out of time. Back to Kyle.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. All right. A round of applause for Pebby and Kathy, our presenters today. I feel like we got 4 hours packed into 2 hours tonight. Amazing stuff. I mean, just so much content. Great. Thank you so much. And thank you to Jean for being our Zoom master.
Woohoo!
Amazing, amazing. All right. We are going to have part 2 of this division LTLI coming up in 2 days, Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel.
Tell them the stuff that they can see.
But 7 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday.
What kind of classes are you going to have?
We're going to have, of course, all the officer breakouts. We're going to have wearing many hats from our region advisor. And Kathy's going to be helping with that one. Lots of great website design.
Website design with Stephen Hall. That'll be a great one.
There.
Yeah, there are going to be lots of great options. After tonight's session, we'll send out a survey for you to give us some feedback on tonight's part 1. And also we will get the slides out for both of our presentations out to y'all as well.
Just keep in mind, if you signed up for the advanced officer training and an officer breakout, you can only go to one because they're at the same time. So pick one or the other. But those advanced classes are pretty cool if you're advanced. If you're new, you really need to go to the breakout session for your office.
Yep, Erica Lockwood's teaching a Pathways class.
Yep, fun projects and pathways.
All right, everybody, we want to let you go on time. Oh, you have a question, Adrian?
Yeah, just real quick. So if you just go to one of those, you still get credit for attending the training? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 2 hours tonight and 2 hours on Wednesday.
Perfect, thank you.
And then you got credit.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
have a great
Kyle.
evening.
Thanks, Jean. Thanks.
Thank you.
Kyle,
Bye.
congratulations.
Unless you're going to stay online here with us.
See you at the next one.
The
Yeah,
after
I'll hang around if anybody wants to talk.
Congrats,
Hopefully
Kyle.
anybody.
Way to go. Nice job.
Yeah, the idea to stream on Facebook has been on my mind.
It was fun.
Yeah, I've only done it one time. Community Toastmasters did it one time last year. and
Okay.
it was a blast. We didn't do it for the whole meeting, but we did, I
No,
think, for like
just
30 minutes.
you could do like just an intro, and that's another way, Desmond. You can do it to like open the meeting, so those people that are privacy oriented, they can join afterwards, or you can do it after the meeting.
Yeah, or just table topics.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we did maybe 4 minutes or 8 minutes when we did it.
Okay. Because that's the one thing that I know has always been an issue with my home club. We are starting to get into a more well-rounded mission, thanks to wonderful VP of